I'm so excited to have you, Felicia. You're like kind of the person who I wanted to start this with because I feel like you're really cool. I appreciate what you're doing in the Midwest so much. You're like in between genres, which I think is really interesting. And we've like been on set together twice, and I don't think I've spoken more than like 20 minutes to you.
Yes, you have. Oh my God.
But like,
We've talked a little bit, but we've been really stoned.
but like also like what we're like on set, and I'm like, okay, how can I sanitize your sneakers? And you're like about to shoot on the other set we had in Emeryville. So I feel like there was
Yeah.
just like so much of this
Sure.
podcast I want to have is to talk about like how there isn't one way to be a performer. I feel like there's so many stereotypes about you have to move to LA or Vegas, and that's the only way you're a performer. So you're one of the first people who came to mind because you're based out of Chicago, right?
Yeah, I am.
Are you from
And
Chicago?
yeah, I am from Chicago. Yeah, I usually don't talk about that, but I feel, yeah, I'm from Chicago. I feel like
Yeah.
people could like gather that about me. I have like 773 tattooed on my hand. I'm like, I've
Yeah,
been
you
waiting for,
have the
yeah, the
flag tattooed,
stars.
right?
Yeah, and the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really wild being from Chicago because I feel like there's so many models I don't know still that just
Hmm.
pop out of nowhere that are like apparently also from Chicago. I mean, like I know when I started working with Little Puck, like our worlds kind of started colliding because she knew a lot more like escorts and like doms and stuff like that. And I feel like I knew more doms from a different scene and like fetish people and stuff like that. So it's just wild seeing how many people are actually out there. But yeah, it is still pretty, like there isn't a real scene there. There's a couple pretty big producers, but there isn't really like, it isn't like LA where it's like there's all these producers out there. You can
Hmm.
hop from like producer to producer or like model to model. Like I'm still learning new people that live in the city. It's wild.
That's so cool. Yeah, I grew up about like 2 hours north of Chicago. So like for me, Chicago is always the big city. So
Yeah.
like I think it's just so cool to see people in the Midwest like making stuff and really doing on their own. There's some
Yeah,
people in
totally.
Minneapolis who also do that, and some in Detroit. So I feel like that's so cool. So what were you doing like when you got into porn? Like how old were you? Were you like having like some basic job? Were you in school?
Yeah, so I officially started sex work when I was like 20, but I first started doing porn and clips in like 2016, 2017.
Oh wow.
I was working, do you want me to start with like the porn?
You can
Like
go as
a
deep as
little?
you want. I am here for it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't really get to be as in depth about like the porn stuff because like I think people like want to hear like how I got into the whole world or whatever. But like I was pretty into the world already. I was working at
Hmm.
the Pleasure Chest, and
Love it.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw you there once actually.
Oh yeah, that's
It's really
legitimately my
fun.
favorite sex store in the world. I'll plug the Pleasure
Yeah.
Chest in Chicago day and night. They've done a few screenings of mine. They're really
I
awesome.
yeah, I remember that. I remember that era. I was working there at that era. I don't think I was in the store that day or whatever. Wild. Chicago's such a big small town. Um, anyways, so I was working, yeah, at the Pleasure Chest, and it was going well. I had been camming for like a year and a half at that point, but I
Hmm.
wanted, like, I guess I know a lot of people get out of the industry. Like, there is a lot of turnover, and I was reaching a point where it's like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to stick with porn? Do I want to stick with retail? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Maybe I should just explore what's out there a little bit more. So in 2016, like I started making clips and uploading them on ManyVids, which went pretty well. I think things really started rolling in 2017, though, after going to AVN, working, meeting like so many great people in the industry, working with people, including you, I think, question mark.
I think we might have shot a little bit later. I think it was maybe like
Yeah,
20. I
nice.
think it was like 2 years before the pandemic. I hate how that's how I judge everything now. Yeah.
And the before times. Well, yeah, I mean, just shooting with people, meeting people, and then doing my first official porn shoot with ATK came in 2017. And yeah, I mean, it felt like a great progression. It was so exciting knowing that like a mainstream company wanted to work with me, knowing that other models had wanted to work with me. Yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty smooth transition though, because I'd already been camming. I'd already been working at an adult store, I had like a surface level understanding of how like the industry worked and how to sell
Hmm.
porn and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you knew all the names, you knew the basics of performing. That's really great. I feel like sometimes like so many people just like go into the deep end and like don't really know that much about it.
yeah, 100%. I see that now with a lot of younger people where it's like they don't understand obscenity laws. They don't understand 2257s. They don't understand like why porn is the way it is today. And I think that's really a shame, you know,
Hmm.
or like where
Um,
porn comes from. Yeah.
like the stuff you were looking at the pleasure chest, like I think that's like some of the best porn selection in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, like, is there anyone or any production companies that really inspired you to get into porn more than just camming?
Um, yeah, you know, I saw some really cool porn at the Pleasure Chest, and it was really cool to see so many different types of bodies in porn and different
Hmm.
people doing different things in porn. It was a very different experience from the first adult store I worked at, which is just straight up like cis het fucking. like, like just like the evil angel, like I don't know, mainstream type company type
Hmm.
stuff. That being said, I mean that is really what inspired me. Like I thought it was so cool, the idea of being like a model and getting a box cover and getting like
Yeah.
pounded, getting all dolled up, like the fucking Elegant Angel, like their styling like back in the day is what really inspired me. And seeing models like Skin Diamond and Jesse
Yeah.
stuff like that come up because they felt like people that I would know, you know, or like they felt
Hmm.
very relatable. And from there, I mean, like spending a lot of time in the fetish section, just like at work, like gazing at it, like seeing like Seattle hairy girls and realizing that I was a hairy girl and that might be like a career opportunity for me one day was pretty wild. And yeah, I mean, like I feel like there were a lot of things that inspired me when I was much younger. Seeing Joanna Angel's work was really what set it off for me, as I'm sure
Totally.
you can relate as an alt girl.
Yeah, I was literally thinking about Joanna Angel last night.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I don't know what brought it up. I'm just like, she was like the first girl to like make hardcore porn a thing in all porn because I feel like for so long it was like, oh, you're gonna have like an emo girl fingering yourself or like
Yeah,
something really soft core. And then she's like, we're doing DP in all these scenes. It's just like super casual. It's just like, oh my God.
yeah. And it felt like you could actually, like, back in the day, especially, like, their talent felt like people that I would see on the street in Chicago, you know, which was
Hmm.
just so cool as a punk on the street in Chicago, you know? Like, I think it was just like, wow, this is so fucking rad. This is like something that could actually be a real thing one day. And yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we both definitely connected with like that whole alt porn thing already being in like
Mhm.
the alternate world of like punk and stuff. Were you pretty involved in like the punk scene in Chicago?
I have gone through phases of going out and not going out. I feel like a lot
Hmm.
of people I've gravitated towards have been punks, but it's also like I have a low tolerance for leaving the
Hmm.
so like I used to go out a lot more in my youth, especially when I was like drinking and stuff like that. But like I've kind of stepped away from it now, both because of COVID and also just like I don't like going out. But yeah, I mean like seeing punks, seeing people in that scene, like knowing people in that scene when I first started working at the adult store. Yeah, I guess I'm pretty I'm like very vaguely into it now, I guess. I don't know. It's a hard thing to say because like COVID has skewed so many things. I don't know where I
For
would be right
real.
now if
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
I feel like you at least bring your like punk ethic to porn, like not only aesthetically, but just that you like basically do everything like mostly DIY.
very much, yeah. Like I'm very interested in like doing everything either on my own or with the assistance of friends so I can help like pay my friends and I can help build things with friends. I think that's really cool. I think that's a really cool foundation to start on, or like doing things with people that aren't being like accepted by mainstream still,
Hmm.
you know, because I'm not still accepted by mainstream.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I've yet to have my first burning angel shoot, but like I feel like it's yeah, I'm very focused on putting on people in my life and trying to like build it up like that, which I guess is pretty punk maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why I'm in this industry too. I feel like I get the same feeling if I got like playing in bands or whatever, just because you're like working with your friends and you're like making a thing that you can have together after that. And then you get to take it to like weird places that you would have never assumed that I would have seen it. So
Definitely. And you've been so good at that, like incorporating that into porn. Like the fact that you like make these films and you're so good at promoting them and pushing them and getting them to platforms that like they wouldn't be if you were just gonna like, I don't know, put it out through an agent or put it out through a company. I think it's amazing. Like you're always in film festivals and you're always like collabing with the coolest people. It's really
things.
It is.
I feel like so much of it is, do you know who Nardwar is?
Oh, yes.
Do you ever watch his TED Talk? Dude,
no.
He has a TED Talk, and it's basically just about being like, you should just ask people, because the worst thing we'll say is no. It's fine. And
That's
it's,
so
I highly suggest everyone listening to this check it out. But it's basically just being like, if you ask people, the worst thing that's going to happen is a no. And that's okay. And just like getting past that. So I feel like I just try to like keep that mindset and just, you know, ask people if they want to make cool stuff. That's great. If not, that's okay too. So I try to keep that mindset. Is there like a first scene or a first moment that made you realize like this was something more for you than just like one or two shoots?
In terms of porn, yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think it isn't necessarily a scene. Although my first barf scene with Little Puck was 10/10 amazing and like started the ball rolling on some really amazing projects with Puck. Yeah, the first time I really felt the sense of like community and everything that like comes with being in porn was like at my first AVN. Like I did shoot during that, but also just like looking around. I think I met you at my first AVN. I think my first one was actually in 2018, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
My memory is fried. Sorry.
I think that's when we shot. It was either 2018 or 2019, something like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just so inspiring, like looking around and seeing people and being like, damn, like there's so many levels to this and so many body types and so many kinds of people and so many personalities, but we're all ultimately making porn, and that's just so like fucking beautiful. And I'm in this now because I'm one of these people, and people hate us so much, and it's amazing.
It's like so wild when you go to AVM for the first time and you realize like that is truly global.
Yeah.
That there's people from all over the world who are trying to do what you're doing, or are doing what you're doing already, or you get to see people like my first AVN, I met Joanna Angel the first day, and I was just like, fuck, that's crazy. Like,
seriously.
She invented emo porn. Like,
no, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. Like, first AVN hit me so hard where it's just like, you feel like you almost like made it, even if you're just there.
100%. Yeah. It's like you realize that this is a really real industry. And even though people want to put you down and act like, oh, it's just porn, whatever. Why the fuck is there a convention then? Why the fuck is this a multi-billion-dollar industry? Like, it's not just porn. It's not just a job unless you want it to be. Like, it's really real. Yeah, it's just very like awe-inspiring and inspiring in general to be there. I think that's what really kicked it off for me and like motivated me to start like working harder on getting deeper into porn and like my longevity and everything in the industry, you know?
Yeah, definitely. What do you think has been like a key to your longevity so far, do you think?
A lot of experimenting, a lot of figuring out my yeses and nos firsthand, which like has always been something that I feel pretty good about. Like I've tried to work for like even more mainstream companies, and I've gotten a lot of no's, and that's been like a propellant to be like, okay, I'm gonna work harder at doing my own thing. And I've like tried shooting different fetishes that felt like, you know, this is maybe a no, this is maybe a yes, and then figuring out what the yeses were and then just pushing it and realizing that I'm good at that. I will also say privilege. I'm a little white girl. Like there's privilege that comes with that. Like I know that I don't fit into like the little like the alt mold or like the natural mold or anything like that, but ultimately I am just a white bitch, and there's a lot of privilege that comes with that.
For real.
I do feel like that's where a lot of my longevity might be coming from as well. But along with that too, just like figuring out who I am, figuring out what works for me, like figuring out a plan so I don't burn out constantly.
That's like so important because I mean, just the career span in porn is so short. It's less than 2 years for most people. So
Really?
if yeah, it definitely is. I feel I've been like the industry for I think it's like maybe 8 years now in porn, and there's like three trans women left that I started with, and
Whoa.
it's just like yeah, I feel like it's just really fast.
It's true, yeah. It's wild to see because there's still some like long-termers that I see like you or like people that I log into Twitter and it's like, oh, this person's still here. This person's having a kid now. I remember when they first started camming. Like I see stuff like that on like Twitter, but I feel like Twitter becomes a bubble too, you know?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to lose track of the people who just like kind of left too.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like there's just a lot of people who just kind of disappear in porn after a while.
I'm like thinking of who's disappeared recently. No, that's true. That's really true. And like even the people that I've named, like Skin Diamond, I think is dabbling a little bit in the industry, but I know Jesse Andrews is dabbling in like fashion now. And like, yeah.
I think I might be wrong, but I think Skin Diamond's like doing music now.
She was for a little bit, yeah. I think she still is too. I remember I used to follow her music page on Instagram, and I've seen recently that she's like done like pro doming or something like that. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's really cool. Yeah, my
Yeah.
biggest one that I want to come back is Sasha Grey. That's like my ultimate. I want her to come back from retirement,
What is she
dominate the
doing
porn world.
now? Yeah.
She's like a YouTube star now and like on Twitch and doing all that. She like cooks stuff. I follow her still. She's great what she's doing. She's just
Yeah.
like watching make a ziti today.
Oh, that's so nice. I'll have to check that
Yeah.
out. I would watch her make a fucking ZD too.
It's really great.
That sounds wonderful.
Do you have like a dream scene or have you shot your dream scene?
Um, dream scene. I've done some really cool stuff so far, and I'm very, very proud of what I've done. In terms of like a dream scene though, I think working for like a mainstream company would be a pretty dream scene. Like I still haven't done like boy girl penis vagina action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like if Tommy Pistol if Tommy Pistol and the sentence. No, yeah, no, I would love to shoot for like a mainstream company, like maybe like Adult Time or like something like that, like or Reality Kings or something. Like I really love seeing that pop up on my feed, and I love seeing those ads pop up, and I think it would be just like really wild and surreal to do that, especially because I do see that those companies seem to be branching out and choosing different like types of performers now, which is really great to see and experience. I would just love that, especially if Tommy Pistol was involved. Yeah, I've been picky just because yeah, I don't know. A, I haven't gotten hired by them. B, I want to choose my debut to be with someone, if not special, then for like a special company. So I've kind of just been holding out on that, but I would really love that so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think the beauty of like doing DIY stuff, I feel like doing DIY stuff on your own, the beauty of it is like you can have all this experience on your own and own all your own stuff. And then when the companies do reach out, then you can like have it be like, oh, I can do a one-off for this and, you know, still have my own stuff to go back to.
Have you done that before? Like,
yeah,
big companies, like, yeah.
Yeah, I've done some like waspy New England porn.
Oh.
Yeah,
for,
where
transensual.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like I did one where I was a college student and I started fucking my professor.
Yeah.
Played by Magdalene St. Michael. She was like a playmate in the 70s, I believe.
Ooh.
And just like a babe, and she's from Britain. So I hook up with her and then I hook up with her husband, and then like we start some weird poly like triad thing.
That's so hot.
Yeah, and we did that in like it was in Cape Cod, and like there were all these lawsuits after the fact about it.
Wait, really?
You can read, yeah, you can read about it on X's, or the Boston Globe also like did the report on it. It was like hella drama. Basically, it was shot at an Airbnb, and the person who had the Airbnb tried to sue over it. There were a few like 100 movies made,
Oh my
or like
God.
dozens made. So there's like all this drama. But I did a few of those where it's like that style, or when I got sent to a girls' boarding school because I was like a bad girl from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I had like a bunch of lesbian sex there, which was 100% what I want to do with mainstream porn. So I think it's fun to have those things. But yeah, there's like weird porn of me like wearing like a denim shirt and stuff that's like totally out of my usual realm. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's fun
It's
to do both. But end of the day, like I just want to make like gay BDSM, like dyke BDSM my entire life.
You've been doing such a good job at it too. I've seen what you've been doing with Lita Lecherous and Courtney,
Thanks.
and it's so great. Like, yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys do this year. Are you going for any AVNs in like the near
We
future?
we're gonna see. We're gonna
Yeah.
see. I feel like the last 2 years we had so much content because we were
Mhm.
able to shoot so much, and we've been on a production hold for over a year now.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be like whenever we all get vaccinated, we're literally first stop is back into the dungeon.
I
So
love that.
yeah, that's what I'm getting vaccinated for. It feels like it's like get
Yeah.
vaccinated, get in the dungeon, all that stuff.
Hopefully that
Um,
happens soon.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hoping so. Are there like any scenes that you look back on that you wish you could do over, good, bad, or otherwise?
I wish I had known the importance of lighting when
Mm.
I first got started and a good camera. Because, I mean, I've always been hot, but like 22-year-old Felicia, if I had like a backlog of like good quality content from when I first got started, it would be incredible. But I was very much like, I'm going to shoot off my webcam. I don't give a fuck. Like, and it worked for
Hmm.
me. And some of my top selling videos are just bullshit webcam videos I shot in my bed. Like, it really astounds me how well they've done. But yeah, looking back on it, I would love to redo some of like my classic bangers with like really nice lighting, probably like a decent like little 4K camera. Um, actually thinking about what I'm doing before just jumping into it. Though I think, I mean, everything that like that, I feel, I don't know, some people really don't like the term everything happens for a reason, but I do feel like in this situation at least, like coming from like that grittiness to what I do now, I think it happened for a reason. People really liked it. People like the amateur vibe, whatever. But yeah, I would rather have learned things and stuck to them early on instead of just winging it.
Yeah, I can totally feel that. I definitely started like shooting webcam stuff on my own because I was like doing cam performances, and then I was like, how can I start doing something more creative? And it's just like the only thing I had. So I definitely feel that. I definitely think
Yeah.
it's a good way for people to start in a way because like you're not investing like $500 into a camera to then be like a month later be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
100%. And I really I feel about people that like in photography and videography that want to gatekeep by being like, you need a really good camera and you need blah 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 and you need at least $1,000 to do this. Cause like, bro, you fucking don't. Like, you can fucking shoot porn off your cell phone, make good money off of it, and
Mm-hmm.
like build from there. I think that's really important. And like a very DIY thing that I'm also very about, like gatekeeping is fucked. Don't let people gatekeep you from like making things, you know? Like money
Yeah,
shouldn't keep you
100%.
from succeeding. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Totally on the same like DIY Midwest like punk ethic where I'm just like, make the thing. Yeah, I was like in the metal scene before that, and there's just so much of like dudes like spending ridiculous amounts on amps and
Oh,
guitars when you're playing a venue of like 40 people. And it's just like that's not what really matters at the end of the day. It's about like your performance, it's about what you're making as opposed
mhm.
to gear. So I feel like when I got into porn, it was so much like I just wanted it to be DIY and just like,
Yeah.
you know, just direct.
I love
So
that.
yeah. So you've obviously worked with like quite a few amount of people, right, over your career?
I think The time flies. It's been 7 years. Like, it's, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. But
it's like a real long porn career.
I see people every time I'm like, I'm grandma. Like, I see people like, oh, year 10, here we are. Or like year 12, or like talking about like 2008 porn. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, I'm like baby. compared to some
I have that.
people.
I have that a lot where people are like, "Oh yeah," in like 2009. I'm like, I was in high school still.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So if you could work with any one performer for the rest of your career, who do you think it would be?
I thought about this. Little Puck.
Yeah, I could see that. You guys make a lot of stuff together.
We do. We have, she's been, I think I can hear her upstairs. I wonder if she can hear me. We've been together during quarantine, like every fucking weekend. I don't know if this is why we started hanging out. I know we've been working together for a couple of years now, and it was turning into seeing each other every weekend and shooting and stuff like that. But at the beginning of quarantine, I had some really rough stuff happen. And Puck was like, just come over every weekend. Let's hang out. Let's just do stuff. Like, let's work. Let's chill. Let's play board games. And it's turned into this thing where it's like, yeah, they've been a really positive influence on me as a person and as a performer. And they have like amazing work ethic, amazing design skills. They're really, really good at what they do. And I believe they also intend to be a lifer. So it's so nice and refreshing working with someone who's on like the same wavelength and like wants the same things. And I would love to continue our working together. Hi, Puck, if you're listening.
That's so awesome. I feel like that's my most like BuzzFeedy like question. So excuse that. Because I'm just like, because when I was writing these, I was like, I wonder like who, because there's so many people who you see shoot with like people all the time, and it's just like I just want to hear more about that because I feel like it's so interesting. Like who people collaborate with in porn, because I feel like it's almost like a thing that's not really thought about that much.
I see a lot of power couples. You and Courtney are a power couple. Like, I mean, like you guys are a power couple in the way that like me and Puck are like a power couple where it's like we just work together all the time. We work really well. We're really good at getting projects out there. I always see you and Courtney together, and I love that. I love it when like you find someone and it can be like, I mean, I don't know the exact nature of your relationship, but like at least from my experience, having like a platonic figure that you can work with and vibe with and just make things happen with is so great, especially because it can be very isolating working in porn and working in the adult industry, especially during this time in history. COVID.
Definitely. It's really wild. The whole thing with Courtney and I just kind of, they were my first shoot for Crash Pads. So I flew out here and it was them and do you know performer Dylan Ryan?
I know that name. If I saw their face, I'd probably recognize them too.
They're kind of like an old school lesbian performer. They like did a lot of queer porn. They were also in, do you know Belladonna's Strap Dyke?
No, Belladonna.
You should watch
Wait,
that.
Belladonna,
I think you would really enjoy it. Yeah, Belladonna. So she had this like lesbian series called Strap Dykes, and it's the most amazing thing ever.
So
I
might have seen that at the porn shop. I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. It suggest everyone listening to check that out. But it's just like really intense, like strap-on porn. But it was like during like the whole alt era, so like Bobby Starr's in it, if you remember her. Jizzly's in it, Sid Blackovich, so like really like some kind of older school lesbian performers. And it's just like really, really great. I think Sin Sage might be in it too. I'm not positive.
Oh, hot.
Yeah. But so we just started working together from like the first time I came out here. And then when I moved here, I think it was like a month in where they're like, oh, do you want to make a movie together? And I was just like, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's how we made Fucking Mystic. So ever since then, it's just been like, okay, we both come from like a DIY punk scene and just kind of understand that stuff. So I think it's really cool, and just being able to shoot stuff in the day has been so amazing. Do you have a favorite place or city you like to shoot stuff? Is there a favorite? Because it sounds like you have to travel quite a bit being in a non-traditional porn city.
Yeah. I mean, oh wow, I thought about this. I feel like it changes a decent amount for me, and I think if COVID wasn't a thing, it would have went from being LA to New York, I think,
Mm.
because I do have a lot of friends in the New York and Jersey area, and I'm noticing that there is like a decent amount of fetish producers out there. So, or like, I have worked with some, and I keep learning about more and more and more talent out there. So I do really like New York. I really like New Jersey. Love New Brunswick. Hello, Freak Mob. I don't know why I'm waving.
It's okay. It's okay. Audio medium, but it's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so I really love it out there. I also really like LA just because, I mean, yeah, I have friends out there. I feel like there's always stuff to do out there. Weed is out there, the beach is out there. It's really
Mm-hmm.
nice to be able to just like chill in between like shooting. The last time I was in LA, right before COVID, I managed to go to a couple really exciting like concerts too, and
So
like
fun.
a bunch of stuff in between shooting. So yeah, I feel like LA feels like, it still feels like the land of opportunity to me in a lot of ways.
Definitely. I feel like
Yeah.
being from the Midwest, when you go to California, it feels like you made it, kind of.
100%.
Yeah.
Small
Yeah, I try
Midwest.
to help. Yeah, it feels like I feel like just coming from the Midwest, it's just like every depiction of California feels so luxurious and just like warm and nice. Well, in the Midwest, it's like -5 degrees and like everyone's depressed because of the weather. And that's just like part of the year.
Definitely, yeah. Whereas like you go out to LA any time of year and it's like, oh, it rained. Oh, there's a storm. Oh, there's something on fire. But it's never like, I'm stuck in the house because it's snowing. I am not going out. Fuck everything. Like very much a different vibe. It seems a lot easier to live out in LA, like just exist as a human.
Yeah, it feels just like such a different vibe because like being on a porn set in LA, it just feels like you're like, oh shit, I'm within this thing.
Definitely. Like the first time I shot somewhere in like Encino and walked into one of those big houses, I was just like, God damn, like what?
Yeah,
Like
those
babe in the big
the
city. Like
did you go to one of the generic porn houses?
I don't know if the place that I've been counts as a porn house.
There's
Question
like
mark. I've heard stories about places with bunk beds and things like that, and it wasn't something like that. It was like a place where the owner of the house would let people like crash there, but it was a bit more like, not to say like regulated, but I have heard that like the porn houses can get very cluttered, very close together, close quarters, like partying, stuff like that, and it's very much just like a place to sleep and then wake up and work in the morning or whatever.
that
Yeah.
sounds legitimately terrifying to me.
What does the bunk
The
bed thing
waking
or
up,
the
yeah, like the waking up and going to work, like in the same house. I used to work at the Armory in SF, and there were beds there where you could
uh,
sleep, but then you would wake up at work, which was terrifying.
mhm.
Yeah, it just feels
You
so
don't like
strange.
that?
No, I don't. I thought I would
Oh,
because I
yeah.
was like, so I used to cam in the Armory like I think like 4 times a week when I first moved here.
Oh
So
my
I was
gosh.
like always in there. So
Yeah.
like there would be a lot of people coming through. So you might like hook up with someone and then like spend more time in the city. I met this
Yeah.
dom and we spent the night there together. And then I woke up the next day and then it was very obvious in the first 5 minutes of waking up, like I'm like, oh shit, I'm at work still. The next day, it was just like I need
Yeah.
to leave.
Oh no.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I kind of like the disconnect. I feel like with New York, you're like, so you go into your own world to shoot porn and then you like get out and no one has any idea about it, you know?
Yeah, totally. Wow, I've never thought of it that way. I just like the convenience, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
and I guess like when I'm there, like I feel like I've grown pretty good at like shutting off Felicia and turning on name redacted, and like going about like my normal things, like when I'm not working, you know, like, yeah, I feel like I can, like, I like to put those boundaries up, and it's not so much of an issue for me. And I just love rolling out of bed, taking a shower, listening to makeup, or listening to music, putting on makeup, and then just like being able to walk out onto set instead of like doing all of that, like micromanaging my time, like, oh my God, coffee, and then we have to call the Uber, and then we have to get more coffee, then we have to get up to the place, and then I have to say hi to everybody, like, instead of just it all being there. I like it like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we just have different takes on that. I
Totally,
guess
yeah.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, I want to heavily compartmentalize my time and then have that, and then be able to leave and be like, okay, that is in the past now. I am looking forward to the DVD in 2 months.
That is, okay, whenever I hear Virgo, I think Beyonce, like WWBD, what would Beyonce do? And that sounds like a very Beyonce thing.
Something that's wild is Beyonce's birthday is the day before mine, and my partner's birthday is the same as Jay-Z's.
Whoa.
We just realized this like a month ago, and we're like, oh my God.
It's meant to be. That's amazing. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh my God.
I
Have you looked
know.
into like your charts and like Jay-Z and Beyonce's charts at all?
I think my partner has a little bit. I just get I don't know if it's just like a rural thing being in Michigan, but like I didn't know anything about astrology until I came on my first porn set in California.
Oh my gosh.
Where someone's like, oh, you're a Virgo. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I feel like I haven't dived super into the chart thing. I think my partner did, but
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the extent. I don't really understand what the rising and all that stuff means, but I vaguely know what being a Virgo is, so.
And you've lived in California for how long?
Like 7, 8 years. Yeah. It's like the
my
one thing I'm
God.
flashing on. Do you have any like, what do you think your weirdest experiences is in the industry, good, bad, or otherwise?
I didn't. I think it's really weird how people perceive you once you do porn. All of these ideas people put on you, all of this bullshit people put on you, all of these like, how are you ever gonna, I've had people be like, how are you gonna be a mom if you do porn? What are you gonna do in 10 years? What are you gonna do when you know you can't work anymore? What are you gonna do when you get aged out? Like, what the fuck are you gonna tell me about my industry? Like, what are you gonna tell me about my job that I have experience in? Shut the fuck up. Like, that is weird to me. Like, I can deal with most fetishes, besides ones that are like very like non-consensual or whatever. But like, yeah, that, I think that is very weird of people to do. Like, how immediately, yes, this is a political job, but you're gonna ask me like the politics of it, and ask me about my future, and ask me if I feel empowered, and ask me all of these very personal questions you wouldn't be asking your accountant. Like, come on. That is weird, and that is other people being weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much of this, like, I really relate porn to almost being an athlete in a way, because there's so much of this public view on like, well, you're gonna age out, then you're gonna have no job, you're gonna have no money. And it's not even like a real concern. It's like there's almost like tone policing around it.
Yeah.
And it's like them thinking they know everything about your job, even though they've never been on a set. And I feel like the only other people that get that same scrutiny is like athletes, where it's like this hyper. Yeah, I really feel like there's a lot of similarities between the two, because we're essentially making our money with our bodies. And then on top of that, it's usually, you know, in your first maybe 10 years, you're going to probably make most of your money, or most of how you just like establishing yourself. And then after that, it's kind of, you know, you set yourself up because you have your own website, or you have whatever to really fuel your own career. And I feel like there's so much of this that people kind of put on both athletes and porn performers, that they know what's best for you. And, oh, it's not that hard of a job. Anyone can do it. It's just a game, or it's just porn. And it's just like, not really true because not everyone can do these things.
Exactly. Like, I don't think people realize like the skill set it takes emotionally, physically. Like, you can't just start fucking, like, you can't, like, perhaps some people can go online and make very easy money, but it's not that easy. You have to push yourself. Like, all of the experience that I gained in retail, I've applied it to working in porn because it's the same thing, like dealing with customers, like dealing with companies, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to sell things, like knowing how to stay civil with your peers, even when someone's acting ridiculous. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's so much that goes into this, and people want to just dumb you down and reduce you down to like this idea of like a used up fucking person. And it's like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
this is very weird of you. I don't see you talking this way to people that work labor jobs. Like, besides me, I don't see you
Mm-hmm.
talking this way to anybody else, but you're going to talk to me this way. That's so weird. Very weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like when you really get to it, not everyone's body can perform in a room full of people in straight up uncomfortable situations, because when you're in the industry long enough, you're going to be in uncomfortable situations. It's not necessarily that that's not consenting. You
Mm-hmm.
might just, a flight could be running late, so you have to shoot at a strange time.
Mm-hmm.
Lights are hot. There's so many variables to it. I feel like so many people just think it's the same as going into your bedroom and just hooking up with someone. And it's just not. There's so much more to it.
100%. Yeah.
Is
So, yeah.
is there anyone weird in your DMs, or anything you got particularly weird in your DMs that you think is notable?
Uh, whenever I get questions about like weirdness like this, it's like, honestly, no. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I get is like predictable. Like people just being like, love feet, love your boobs. You or you're trash, okay? Or like, I don't know, just different things like that. I don't really get anything too weird that I don't think like other like female like appearing people on the internet don't get. I think I just get more of it because I put my body out there more, maybe, or
Mm.
people perceive me as someone to like hit up and like talk sexy to for some reason. Nothing too weird. No, I don't really think of it. I think it's all pretty average stuff I get. I do get some very like interesting people on the phone sex sites that I'm on, but that tends to be illegal and I tend to hang up on them and I tend to report them immediately. Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah. I don't know if we should be giving the weird people more screen time anyways.
I mean, there's just various rappers that go through every porn performer. So,
Oh,
oh, I mean, I'm sure you know about the Little B rapper.
yes, I do.
Yeah, through everyone's DMs, I feel like.
Yeah, I
So,
was one of them too. Yeah. I
same,
mean,
same.
it really stinks because he was one of my favorite rappers in high school and like 18 and 19. And this was before like I was in sex work. I 99% he started harassing sex workers. But some of like my best
Yeah.
memories in high school were like learning who Lil B was and like, yeah, just being a part of that whole like movement or like seeing it all like unfurl and stuff. And it's really disappointing that he wants to do that shit. But again, like I see him as like another person who's just like open feet BB. Like,
Oh, completely. Yeah. When he was in my DMs,
yeah.
I was just like, I don't even want to deal with this. I'm just like, I know what you do. I know you're banned from porn sites. I'm good. It's just weird how
Yeah.
that stuff can
Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
are
Who
there
are
any
the
places
other rappers?
um I've had a few friends who had a few other rappers who talked a big game in DMs that just like didn't show up, or were just like, I don't know.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's part of
I want
life. And
stories. Yeah.
or like different people in emo bands following you and stuff. I feel like that happens a decent amount.
Oh, I guess in that case, I think it's really interesting that like people seem to not realize that I can see who views my Instagram stories, because I get a lot of blue checks viewing my Instagram stories. And
Interesting.
it's people where it's like young, like 18-year-old YouTubers, like pretty well-known R&B acts, and like,
Wow.
oh yeah, I have some stories. But yeah, it's very, very interesting to see who comes out of the woodwork. I don't necessarily think that's weird as much as just like part of the game. Like, I'm a public figure, you're a public figure. Somehow these people are gonna find us that are also public figures. So we're all just gonna interact and act like we're not interacting, but you're gonna watch my stories and probably jerk off to me, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like that's just kind of part of life.
Mhm.
Are there any places you ended up because of porn that you didn't expect to be in your life?
Yes, I did not.
Where?
Thriving in the middle of a fucking pandemic. Holy shit. If you would have, like, this, like, I am so thankful. Like, so many awful things have happened in the past 5 years, like, personally and outside of it and
Hmm.
in society. And I am just so fucking grateful that in 2018, I decided I'm going to do this full time. So I had 2 years to establish myself before the pandemic started. Because I would be shit out of luck, dude. I would be like stuck if I didn't have porn during the pandemic. I mean, of course, I'd make it work somehow, but it's just like to have everything already set up, be in a good groove, like be able to work from home every day while the world is fucking burning. Like, I'm so grateful for that. Like, that is something I would never have expected. And like seeing people that I grew up with that would talk mad shit about me doing porn, like struggling at their little bar job now because their bar isn't
Mm.
open. It's like, yeah, bro, look who's thriving in the apocalypse. Me. Like, it's just insane to me, like, to see that. I'm very grateful that I'm in that position. I mean, beyond that, it's like, yeah, it feels very surreal to look back and be like, damn, I used to take 3 trips a year to LA and then like 1 trip a year to New York and maybe go to Florida or New Zealand if I'm feeling fancy. But like outside of that, it really just like I would look around my room during the pandemic and just be like, I am so thankful. Like, I am so happy that I'm here and I'm safe and I have like everything I need to just fucking hunker down and ride this out, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it's just so much like these people started in camming essentially. Like
Mhm.
it just totally prepared us for this. Like immediately in this, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep camming. This is what I always do. Like
Totally.
just to have maintaining like a regular schedule helped me so much. Just being like, okay, I can even though the world's burning around me and like everything's different, I can still have my same day essentially, you know? I feel like for so many
Yeah.
people, they just like don't have that everything's so up in the air. I feel like there's just so much luxury in just literally having a place to live, still having a job right now, and just like being
Definitely.
like healthy. I feel like just having all that is something to be so thankful for.
Yeah, and I feel like doing online sex work is a way to be able to have all of those things right now, and it's like such a fucking blessing. Like, honestly, like I don't know, like myself and other models, like we have this, what the fuck, like would we be doing, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, it's just crazy to me, but it's very exciting. Yeah,
yeah. I
to
think
know,
it's
to have that.
yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting because porn's essentially getting a fresh restart when we all come back. So I feel like just the potential to do anything is really there. Do you ever think
What do
about
you
that really?
mean?
Like, so
No,
all these sites I've
what's
been
your
shooting.
theory?
So
Mhm.
what I think is gonna happen is you've seen it since the times you went to AVN. Probably even your first AVN, it was a lot more about people shooting for other sites. When you first got into the
Mhm.
industry, I'm assuming it was like that.
Yeah.
I feel like the last few years, everyone's just doing content trade now.
Mhm.
So what I'm thinking is going to happen is I think these studios are going to be weekends and like who they're shooting is going to change because they're essentially just going back from, you know, even the companies that are still shooting are shooting at a much smaller rate. So when they
Mhm.
scale up again, I think there's going to be a lot better chance to be included in casting. And I think the studios are going to have less power, so I think the power is going to mostly go to the content creators.
Porn renaissance.
That's what
Oh
I'm
my
hoping
gosh.
for. I don't know. I've been extremely optimistic the last few months about that and like where all this stuff is going, as well as like sex work decriminalization. I feel like it's all really heading into a right position. As sex work is like they're not more mainstream when you have like Disney stars starting OnlyFans and shit like that. Like
Oh,
as much as
yeah.
I see people talking about that in a bad way, I feel like almost having these like privileged ass white girls who are on the Disney Channel or whatever else, like
Mhm.
that tier celebrity, I feel like it's gonna make sex work so mainstream. Kind of like how Caitlyn Jenner made trans stuff mainstream, even though Caitlyn Jenner is a horrible person. It did like make it more easily to understand for people in like, you know, 30 minutes outside of Chicago and whatever suburb, you know?
100%. Like, and I do think about that a lot too. And it makes me wonder if the pushback that, like, because it feels like the pushback against porn is ramping up. And I do feel like part of that is because the war on drugs is now rendered obsolete. But I also
Mm-hmm.
think it's because they know our power. They know the power that sex workers have and that the industry currently has, because we do have OnlyFans. We do have things going in our favor in that way. We do have people that are more open about sex. And yeah, that's a really exciting thing to think about. I didn't really think about how it would impact larger studios, although like I said, like I am starting to notice different types of bodies and different types of people getting booked. I didn't realize that might be part of the pandemic or like part of all of this happening, but that makes a lot of sense. And I really do hope that, yeah, like maybe this will be when they start including all kinds of bodies, all kinds of people actually fucking, not even actually fucking, just even if it's porn sex, it would be so cool to see like
Yeah.
regular, like some of like my favorite performers that have not previously been able to get up there, like be up there. Like I love seeing like a not, like not to say a not conventionally attractive face, but like a new face, a weird looking face, like
Mm-hmm.
a fucking different looking body. It's so exciting. And that is really great to think about. I really hope that does happen. Or they realize the power that like OnlyFans creators have and like they start like grabbing from there or whatever.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really hope that starts to happen and just continues more. I'm just really excited to see what it comes back to because this
Totally.
industry is not going to be the same after what it was, and I think it's just probably going to continue going the direction of, you know, how it's done with content trade. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, the first year I went to AVN, I think was 2015,
Mhm.
and everyone was just at the convention, like trying to hustle with
Yeah.
people and be like, oh, I can get a gig this way. And it's just now so different because everyone's just shooting all day. Like you barely see anyone at the convention comparatively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really good though. Here's to
Yeah.
hoping. Is
I love
there
that.
any yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish you could do in your career that you haven't thus far?
Um, Tommy Pistol.
Tommy Pistol.
No, he's one of the very few performers I see that doesn't like totally creep me out, like cis dude performers. Um, so yeah, no, I think it would be really cool to be in like a more mainstream porn, like I said, like
Mhm.
I would also love to be in like Hustler or Playboy or something like that. I'm kind of
That would
old
be
school in
so
that way. I
rad.
think like those are my aspirations, you know? Or like getting an award would be cool, like winning like an AVN thing or something. I've been
Yeah.
yeah. Like I've been to like I've never tried to apply. I think I always see like everything come up for it and then I'm like, well, I'll do that, and then something happens and then I don't do it, but I like to apply to get into AVN or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think something, any of those three things would be really cool, just like leveling up more and like maybe following a more like conventional porn route, which might never happen because I'm pretty unconventional when it comes to appearances in porn. But I mean, you never know, like you said, like life
Yeah.
is changing. Feel like it's pretty normal to be alt now, like who knows.
For
Yeah.
real. I mean, basically like most performers have tattoos now.
Yeah, so many.
I feel like it's definitely changing. I think those are all definitely possible in your career. Like for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah. Um is there anything like you really want to still accomplish in your career other than like those things? Is there like something you wanted, like, do you want to start directing someday? Do you want to just kind of build up being a performer and just get more mainstream?
I would like to start a site. I would like to
Mhm.
start my own porn site. I've mulled that over a little bit. I know I've talked to Courtney a little bit about it. Sorry to
I
keep
am
rubbing
so
my
about
eye.
that.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I bought a certain URL that you might be familiar with.
ooh,
And I really want to start working on that and try to apply like what I've already mentioned about trying to put my friends on, trying to help out like people in my community, like trying to like create a platform for people that might not otherwise have a platform or might feel a little bit stuck, because I feel like I've gleaned a lot of information in the last 7 years. And I think like I would be able to start a site, to get things rolling, to do things like that. It's just a matter of like doing it. Like I've had a lot on my list for the year and I've been kind of derailed the last like I don't know month or so, but I'm really hoping to get back on board with that cuz yeah, I would like to start a site. I would like to be able to pay people. I want to hire people. I want to start building up. I'd like to get to the point where I'm at the same level of the people that used to tell me no. Like that's like
yeah.
yeah, like low key, something that's always in the back of my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like no matter what industry you're in, when you're directly competing against the companies that said no to you, it feels really good.
Totally. I've seen
Yeah.
you like I don't know if you've experienced that when like being
Oh,
an
yes.
AVN, but yeah, like in general and an AVN, like looking around at all the names and be like, bitches, I'm here too. What are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, when I first moved out here to work for King,
Mhm.
I still don't think they shoot trans women as submissive. So like so much of my early career was like, I'm gonna show them, I'm gonna do it. And like being able to be nominated up against them for like best BDSM release, it was just so validating because it's just like even if they win over me, it's like I'm there now and they know. Whether
Right.
they actually know or not.
I think, yeah, no, that's definitely like one of
Yeah.
those beautiful, like personal goal moments where you look at it and it's like, fuck, I've done a lot. Like,
Mm,
I've done so much. I'm really happy for you. It's really cool that you've hit
thanks.
that.
I
Wow.
just wanted to make BDSM porn. Like that's my whole side. So I just
Yeah.
feel like however it had to go
Hmm.
to like make the process possible. Kind of what I feel like I moved here for. So I'm just
Totally.
happy I can make cool stuff with cool performers. I think for you, just having your own site, that's like how you build up, the down the road. Oh, wow, you might have 50 members in a few years,
Hmm.
where you can actually have a true income from just like almost a passive income. I feel like that's almost like your
Totally.
down the road, like the down the road performer plan for like longevity in a way.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that I really have to work on soon. I have like the shell of a website, but I need to start getting it set up so I can start selling porno on there. But there's just been like a couple like bumps in the road, but it'll all get smoothed out. I also haven't been dedicating as much time as I was before into it, so I'm just rambling. Yeah,
Also,
but I'm
I
hoping
mean, that's what this is for.
soon work on that because I think yeah, that's why we have an abundance of time that we're put on Earth. It's always
Yeah, we're in
tomorrow.
the middle of a global pandemic and you're like doing things. So you're doing great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had so many missteps during my own website. Like I had
Yeah.
chelseapo.com for a while.
Mhm.
The URL expired. Someone bought it out from under me, which
Ooh.
I think I know who it is, but I'm not going to name names. And then
Oh.
I had like a website that just like wasn't doing much for me. And then I finally got my Chelsea Submits. I think it was like a year ago. It was like 2 weeks into the pandemic because I'm like, I'm gonna do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So
Do you mind if
I
I
think,
ask? Oh, sorry.
yeah, of course.
Do you use Veritel? Are you like
Yes.
using that as well? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a really great company.
cool. Yeah, I like got set up with them, but then like I got the terms of service papers made and I still don't have an office to base my work out of. So I'm just like, it feels like I'm really stuck right now because I need to
Mm,
like figure out so many moving parts to it. But like once you get that all sorted out, it's just like smooth going, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
doing it through the Trouble Films Network, so I have a little bit of an advantage with that where I think Trouble Films has been on Barotel for,
Yeah.
yeah, like 10, 15 years or something. It's
Holy
a
shit.
company based in the Netherlands. They're
Hmm.
really, really great. And just the censorship laws are definitely more loose there because sex work is legal in the
Yeah.
Netherlands. So, yeah, it's a very good company to work for. But I think there's still, I heard some issues with some US bank accounts with
Interesting.
Barotel because of like them having ties to different like groups and stuff. So I think I would just yeah, just research that a little bit more. But yeah, I think I'm so excited to see your site and see all your stuff in one place.
Thank
Did you
you.
shoot
It's
so much interesting stuff? You shoot like fetish, you shoot hairy stuff, and then you shoot war porn. How did
yeah.
that come about?
Um, so full disclosure, I haven't really done any of the horror stuff on my own. I've always been working for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it that came about after I'd started uploading like vomit clips and stuff like that. So I think all the years blur together. It was either 2016 or 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This producer, Sam Hell, got in touch with me to make a film called Spit, which was the first or second in like a trilogy he was doing, and it was like a vomit porn thing where like I barf all over myself and like rub it on myself and masturbate.
It's so fun.
It was so much fun. It was so
I
much
love
fun
that.
shooting. Yeah. He works with a lot of sex workers and he's a very cool, chill person. So it's like it's always been very fun working with him, which is why I worked with him 6 or 7 times. And he did a documentary about me and my work with him, which is really crazy and surreal. And I feel like I probably don't talk about it enough. So surprise, there's a documentary about me out there called The Odd World of Felicia Fisher. But yeah, it all started with him hitting me up and we vibed really well together. He wanted to get me on board for a few other projects that turned into like 6 or 7 other projects. And I just got booked by,
Wow.
yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, I didn't realize how deep like the horror, gore, like porn, erotica scene is. And it's very, very real. It's worldwide. There's people,
Wow.
yeah, it's like it's very much there is overlap I've noticed between like the punk scene and like people into like horror movies and like that scene, like it all kind of flows together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very wild being part of that and being recognized and as like an actor in like that realm. And I just got booked by another producer for another film. We actually shot it the other week actually. So
Wow,
um
it's so cool.
yeah, so I've done quite a few horror projects now, and it all started because I vomited on the internet.
That's amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
like, were you really big into horror before that, or did it just kind of was just an opportunity that came to you and you just wanted to try something new?
It was just something that came to me really like I have a really bad attention span. I'm really bad at watching movies. And like
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, I was very edgy and goth and stuff.
Yeah,
So like I was,
relatable.
yeah, of course. Midwest. Um, but yeah, so I was into horror, I guess, like a little like that. I was a
Mhm.
bit more so when I was younger, but it really is not what it is to some of the people that are into the films for me. I think it's really cool being in the films and I love contributing to like the genre and I love doing really extreme things and I'd love to keep doing more and more films because yeah, I think people recognize me as now, but it's just yeah, I don't really watch horror. I watch like I don't know dramas. I'm watching Dawson's Creek right now, which I would like to
Oh
argue is
wow,
recent because it's by the man that did Scream. I didn't know that, but
really? Wow,
it is. Isn't that wild?
I had no idea.
Like it blew my mind. So I've been watching it to like study it a little bit just because I think it's fascinating. Like I've gathered that the guy just had a bunch of fuck off money after he did Scream and was like, why don't we make a kids or like not a kids, like a teen sitcom drama thing?
A very wholesome teen like sitcom.
It's raunchy, dude. Like, no,
Is
it's
it?
not wholesome. It's very problematic. It's like, first of all, like there are some like jokes and plot lines in it that are just really fucked up. And it's just really like looking back on like 90s like movies, like 90s mainstream movies and stuff like that. It's like I really can't believe this was how the world was. But also I do remember the world being like that. Like saying like the R word or like the F slur randomly for no reason, accusing
Oh
someone of
yeah.
gay, like stuff like that, gayness as a joke, like that's all prevalent, and their race as a joke is in there. And it's just fascinating to like see it and like be like, wow, maybe this is why people acted the way they did when I was in high school. Maybe this is why, yeah, I don't know. I'm watching it from a sociological point of view. So to make a long story short, I'm not really into horror, but I like drama.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking about like how stuff has changed so much in a short period of time,
Mhm.
my partner and I just got like the Paramount Plus, and
Ooh.
so as like all the old MTV shows on there. So we were
Uh-huh.
watching Next. Do you remember that show, The Next Bus?
I think is is it is Lou Pearlman involved? The guy that did the boy
No,
bands?
no.
Okay. Then I don't know.
I love
Sorry.
that Lou Pearlman's name is coming up though. It's hilarious. Did you watch the boy band con?
That would be Making the Band. That was the one that he was on, I think.
Oh,
What's the boy band con? I've listened to
it's
podcasts recently about
it's
him.
about like how he like scammed NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys out of money
If
and
I
like
didn't
all the creepy shit he was doing.
I think I either watched it or I heard a podcast that came out around the same time because I know that was a really hot story a couple months
Mm-hmm.
ago. Yeah. Um, that's crazy. No, I don't think I've seen Next then if there isn't Lou Pearlman involved.
Well, essentially, it's like this show where so there's like a girl who's like, okay, I want to go on a date, and then they have a bus full of like five guys,
Mhm.
and they're the worst human pieces of scum, and they come out and they say something horrific, and then you can either pick next. It's like Bang Bus kind of, but with selection.
Ah, and then they bone.
It,
They like fuck.
I don't think they bone, but like it has kind of that vibe to it. I
Yeah.
highly suggest revisiting it. It was like
Oh
us in the time we were like in middle school or high school,
yeah. Mhm.
like right after school on MTV at the time.
Fuck. I need to
Yeah,
check this out. This sounds horrific in the best
it's
way.
so terrific. Horrific. And they're like saying the worst things, like the R word and the
Uh-huh.
F word, and just like all this stuff where you're just like, wow, that was really acceptable at the time. It's just so
Yeah.
wild to think about how much that stuff was acceptable not
I
that
think,
long ago.
yeah, no. And I've been thinking about that a lot, like, especially watching Dawson's Creek, because I do remember how big that was. First of all, highly recommend watching it if you want like a blast from the past. But like it's crazy because I remember being like called those things in school or hearing people say things like
Yeah,
that. And it's just like, would my life have gone differently if those things didn't exist? And we like if I was living where they like where kids are now, where it's like kids more accepting of things, I think. I don't hang out with kids. But like I've gathered that people are a lot more accepting about gender expression, identity, like everything like that. Like, would it be the same thing? You know? It's wild. It's
yeah.
very
I feel like almost in one way, because I came out as trans, I think, when I was like 13 or 14 in the Midwest.
oh wow.
So for a while, like until I moved, no one really knew what being trans was. So I feel like it was so easy to like almost just like blend in with society because no one knew. Where I feel like
Uh-huh.
now it's almost probably the opposite for people like in the Midwest who are
True.
trans, whereas they're being read as trans now probably, or having a higher likelihood. Where like I was also dating like a really femme trans woman at the time, and we would literally never think about being misgendered anywhere else other than gay clubs that like gay men somewhere.
Oh my
And that was
god.
like the only time because everywhere else in like out in Michigan, Holland, around there, like no one knew. So it was like this huge thing that I feel like maybe now you almost don't have that like invisibility in a way. So I don't know if it's maybe like a double-edged sword where there is so much visibility where you know about it now,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time maybe there's more almost like backlash in places like the Midwest or more rural places.
I would definitely see in rural places. I will say too, like with the double-edged sword thing, I do feel like the people that are anti-LGBT, anti like whatever, are very loud still, and even louder in some ways. But it makes me wonder if like it, because it's not mainstream culture, like mainstream culture is like to be more accepting, like would it,
Mm-hmm.
has it flipped? Like have like I don't know.
Yeah, my hometown, I went back, I think it was like 2 years ago, right before the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and there's trans flags on every single bar. And I'm
Whoa.
like, I didn't know any other trans people when I lived there at all. So it's just
Yeah.
so random. That's like, okay, there's trans flags everywhere. It's so strange how some stuff has changed so quickly in the Midwest.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, what do you think you're most proud of during your career?
Oh, I think I had an answer for this and I
If you're
forgot
gonna
it.
like, if you're gonna put, it could be a scene, it could be like doing a thing, it could be anything, but like what on in your career would you like put on a shelf and be like, that's what I'm most proud of?
Yeah. Um, I think it's, there's so many things I've done that I like have wanted to accomplish, you know? And like
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I'm not shit, but then it's like, wow, I've been on the cover of like a hairy porn video. Wow, I've been like in a porno magazine in Australia. Like, wow, I did an interview for Hustler for like the knitting I do. And I
Oh
think
my
that's like,
god. Oh, yeah, I saw it. That's so badass. You were in Hustler.
yeah, like I'm in fucking Hustler. Like I, for something that I do too. Like there's like they're gonna put it in print as well, which is just very surreal. So
Wow.
like, and they actually interviewed me for another thing too. So it's like I am featured in Hustler twice in 2021. What the fuck?
That's
Like
so badass.
it's crazy. It's so crazy. And then like being in all of those horror films and working on that and having a docu-fucking-mentary,
You have a
having
fucking
t-shirts.
documentary. That's so
Yeah,
amazing.
like having t-shirts that have my picture on it that people buy, like it's just like bro, like I feel like I've done so much stuff that I'm like very proud of, and it's like it's things that I've wanted too, like I've always talked about like the permanence of like porn and like the permanence of like hard copy porn, like having a
Mm-hmm.
DVD, having a magazine, having a book, whatever. And it's like, yeah, I've been doing those things lately, and it's like, wow, I'm really proud of it to have like accomplished things that I've wanted. Yeah.
That's so amazing. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I feel like particularly, also being from the Midwest, I feel like when you first start, it feels so far away. It's not
Yeah.
around you really. Where I felt like when I first started doing this in the Midwest, where I was like, just like camming late at night and then like being like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym at 1 a.m. because I get done at camming at midnight or whatever. And like it being a fucking blizzard, it just feels like it's such a different world to think about, you know, having your stuff published or being able to go to Vegas for like an award show or a convention or anything. It just feels honestly just so like a whole different world.
It does. And I maybe that's where my imposter syndrome comes from then. Cause like I'm still like the same regular person that like, I don't know, fucking I do my errands, I don't leave the house. Like I just feel so regular, but then it's like there are people that it's like, oh my God, Felicia Fisher. And I'm like, what? Who? It's very surreal. It's super surreal. Yeah, to think about that, especially because yeah, I think too in Chicago and in the Midwest, there's very much still the perception like you're just a porn performer, blah blah blah. You just blah, you fucking show your pussy on the internet. But like if you go to LA, it's understood that you're like a porn performer and that's your
Mm-hmm.
career and that's your job. It's very, very different in both places. Like people, I feel like I get more respect from people not in the Midwest sometimes just because like it is so taboo still, or like there still are so many misconceptions about like porn and the industry and things like that, or like longevity or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
That's so cool. I mean, that you've been able to like essentially propel yourself to this. You haven't really had like one or two gigs that changed your career. It was more, I feel like you working on your own through all of this to get to this point.
I will say yes, to a point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like working for ATK did help propel
That's
me.
big. Yeah, it's a huge
Yeah,
company.
they like working with them really helped me build up my fan
Mm-hmm.
base and help figure out who I am as a performer as well, I would say. Because, like, I thought for the longest time, like, I couldn't be hairy and like tattooed and have small tits and want to do it's like okay I don't know if I've talked to you about like the triangle like or the fucking Venn diagram thing, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can be hairy with small tits, you can be tattooed with small tits, you can like be tattooed with big tits, and like these
Yeah.
are all things that like you see in mainstream porn, but like hairy tattooed small tits, like it was very different. Like it felt like I wasn't like I was different from other people in that way. Like, and it was very hard to find gigs that way. But I've had people compliment me. I've seen more people that look like me coming out now. And it's like, yeah, it like working with ATK helped me establish that I could be the person that I am and still keep
Aw.
working. Yeah. Which,
That's like
yeah.
heartwarming.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the kind of conversations I want to have on this because, like,
Yeah.
when we talk to like regular press or whatever, it's just
Uh-huh.
so much like, tell us why porn is good, tell us why it's bad. And it's not really
Yeah.
getting into like, wow, that I was able to do a mainstream site and
Mhm.
actually be like, wow, who I am is okay in this industry. I can be accepted.
Yeah.
I can have a career in this, and like what that means to you and means to your career. I feel like it's something that's not really covered in your usual thing that it's a press person just being like, well, I have this idea for a story and this is what it's going to be.
Definitely. And talking to someone like you in the industry, it's like you understand the nuance and you understand the names, and I don't have to explain to you things because like you know what ATK is, you know
Yeah.
like the difference between like mainstream, like amateur, like camming, clipping, clip sites, whatever. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to talk to a performer about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm really hoping to try like provide a space for because I feel like we don't really have many spaces like this. So I
Right.
have one last question for you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me today. This
Of
has been
course.
so much fun.
It has. It's
Yeah,
felt really natural too.
exactly. If you can magically change one thing in porn overnight, tomorrow it's totally different. What would it be?
Oh wow. Um, I thought about this too. The first thing that comes to mind is get rid of all the creeps. Just
Just
if
get all the creepy male producers who are racist and shit just gone.
just poof, it's gone. Just all of them.
That's great. I
And
love
then
that.
build it up from whatever. Just fill the positions with much better people. I think that would be great. I think if I could also change, like, yeah, people's perception of the industry because it's so like that, which would be outside of the industry, I guess, and might have like in this hypothetical world might have like an effect on our career if like the world suddenly became super saturated because everybody was like okay with porn. But I think if we
Mm,
could change the perception of porn, because it's very exhausting to try to do your job and then have people telling you no all the time, or having people telling you you're wrong, or having people telling you you should be abolished, or like you aren't able to think for yourself, or you're being
mm-hmm.
trafficked or some nonsense like that. It's like it's very, very tiring, and I think it would be better if we could just like work and not have to think about things like that.
I
So
100%
I don't know.
agree. Both those things are
Get rid-
great. I mean, ending the stigma, and I think definitely getting the creeps out of it would definitely help. So I feel like there's still so much of a stigma around porn is filled with predators. There's so much explicit drug use, And for most people, that's just not really true. Like, I don't do any drugs. Most performers really don't. So I feel like there's just so much stigma around all that stuff. And yeah, I think that would be a great thing.
Yeah, some fucking, yeah. Sorry, what?
Oh, no, go on.
Yeah, like some performers are some of the most hardest working, wholesome people I know. Like fucking sober, going to the gym, taking care of yourself, having meals with friends, like living healthy, happy lives. And it's like, if I don't know, it could be so nice. It could all be so simple. People just stop making assumptions and stop making people feel bad. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to maintain a porn career when you're full on partying. Because I feel like you see those people who come into this industry with a lot of potential, and then they just kind of burn themselves out with partying and all that stuff. And it's just like I think this is kind of where it comes back to being a professional athlete sort of thing, where it's like you really definitely have to take care of your body. You have to be in the right headspace, or you're gonna burn out, like it or not. You can't just push through it and just be like, I'm gonna party every night and then show up to set the next morning. It's just like, that doesn't really work.
Yeah, it's like, this is really a job, guys. Like, you really shouldn't be doing that at your day job, like, or like not a day job, like a vanilla job. You really shouldn't be doing this at this job. Like, if people understood that it is a job, maybe things would go over a lot smoother.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much, Felicia. This has been so amazing to chat with you and learn more about you and what it's like being a porn performer who's like largely like between 3 different genres, like doing all that stuff and out of the Midwest, which is so exciting to talk about because I haven't been to the Midwest. Honestly, the longest I have been away in my life. So it's so nice to chat.
Come home.
Yeah, whenever all this ends, I'll definitely let you know next time I'm in Chicago, and hopefully we can link up again.